It's been 8 years since I seen him, and when I did see him, she had randomly called me out of the blue because I was already wanting to see him, obviously, because it's I'm a fucking genius, so of course I'm gonna do what I can to put all the genius in him. At a certain point, I was like, wait a second, he me, like I'm going through the same. Oh, this is the part I wanted to add. Okay, I was like, yo, Heather didn't know what it was like. She didn't have a really good, strong relationship with her dad. So she was perpetuating that shit with me and mine. And I was like, that ain't good. The main reason that ain't good, we know it's not good, but the main reason is because she knew that I didn't want him to grow up the same way I did when it comes to not having my dad. So when she started keeping him away from me, that shit was infuriating me because she knew that ain't what I was trying to experience. At a certain point, I learned, hey man, you got to stop putting the negative stuff at the forefront of your thoughts because that's exactly what you're gonna get. Bittersweet after the fact, but that's what the fuck happened. You see, so I'm sitting there looking, I'm stepping outside of myself at a certain point. This years ago, and I was like, yo, my son is growing up the same way that I grew up, and I'm looking at how I turned out. I think he's gonna be straight. I think he got my spirit in him. He got my daddy's spirit in him. He gonna be straight. He got a good spirit in him. You know. I had a book in the States, and I remember writing. My son is doing what he can to teach Heather how to love because she doesn't know how to love. She didn't love herself, so of course she can't love nobody else and nothing else. So yeah, I was like, yeah, she he gonna teach her that using my spirit. He gonna teach her that, and no matter what she do to try to keep me and him apart, she kept him away from me. She kept him away from my mom, and he is was my mom's only grandson. She kept him away from all of us, and no matter what she do, she always gonna be around me. She still got that piece of me around her, no matter what the fuck she do. She wanted to hold on to me so tight that she kept that child away from me. Didn't want the source, but she still got the child. When he was a baby, he looked just like me. He did not look like her. When he does look like me, I'm like, where? Show me where. Oh, maybe he's got your chin. These some dominant genes right here. Maybe he got your chin. And I mean, on top of that, and I got everything going for me right now too. My genes super dominant in every way, shape, and form. Of course, you're not gonna see yourself in this shit. And she blonde hair, blue eyes. Okay, so like, yeah, like, what was I saying before that shit? Oh yeah, so I noticed that pattern is still being perpetuated. It's the child growing up without the father and only having the mother in their life, and that's how I saw it. So after a while, years ago, I was just like, he gonna turn out very similar than how I turned out. Yeah, he got a different astrological program, but it's the same spirit. So he's still gonna figure this shit out. It might not be the speed I wanted it to be because I'm me. I think highly of myself and I should. So I knew I would be able. I basically set out. How do I want to say it? Part of the reason why I came into the tropics is because I said, I don't know what I got to do or what I got to say, but I'm going to find a way for my son to see me, even though his mom is doing what she can for him to not see me. So I need to do some big shit. I need to do something real big, something that the whole world can see, so that he know, hey, that's my dad. That guy right there. Even if she try to, and I ain't no fucking hiding from it no more. Like, this nigga done did this and that and that. He did all this stuff, so everybody know him now. So that's how part of how my journey started, being in the tropics and all the other shit, and meeting people that was relating, meeting mirror neurons and all the other stuff, seeing other people going through the same thing. Of course, I'm aware now that they were just mirror neurons. They was going through what I was going through. But yeah, I always wanted to do something real big. Now, I mean, the Facebook, the Instagram profile, it is what it is now. However, the stuff is still on there, which is good. But like, I just wanted to make sure that I did a bunch of important shit to make sure that he can see, that he know, hey dude, I didn't give up on you. Bitch did what she could to keep you in between us because of how she felt. I ain't never do nothing to try to keep you away from her. I wouldn't even fucking do no shit like that. I thought about it. I thought about it heavily. But I know better. And I know that children need both parents. They don't just need the mom. Like that shit. Well, he needs to be, she'd be like, well, he needs to be with me, especially while he's younger and all this other shit. And I'm like, but your life, but your standard of living is nowhere near mine.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Because, you know, my son lived with his father. And women would tell me that too. Like, well, he's young. He needs to be with you. And I would think what you just said. But the man's standard of living is better than mine. Why would I... it didn't make sense to me. It wasn't logical.
Maybe if you had a girl.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be the.
But it was a boy, so I'm like.
She not gonna be able to teach him to build shit. Now the good thing is he got a Mercury and Scorpio, which means he already mechanically. Mercury and Scorpio, which means, and a Jupiter and Gemini. Jupiter and Gemini is a language talent. Right? He's good at language, even though he has speech therapy, so he's good with language. And in Mercury and Scorpio, which makes him mechanically inclined, so he already got my skills in him already. All he got to do is activate them. So my goal would have been just to activate them skills, but because he's me, he'll more than likely just go through what I went through and meet people with those skills, and that's how they're going to be activated. That's what happened to me. I ain't have my dad. However, I met other people that had those skills, and I just learned from them, and that was it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how my dad had to be, because I got these same skills, and this shit is easy to me. It's easy for me to just put something in my mind and just make it, But why did I say that shit? Oh yeah. Another thing. I remember it being said that when you really want something, all you got to do is wait for it. Back then. So like, I was like, all right. I had all these talks. I would have a lot of talks with my mom about my son and her grandson. We talked a lot about that shit. And she said, eventually, your son is gonna want to see his daddy. Like no matter what, he gonna want to see his daddy. Ain't no getting around it, son. So just don't worry about it too much. Just don't do this, to do that. Just don't do too much. Don't go out of your way. Maybe you can keep contact, try to reach out, do whatever you can do. But that's just about it. Don't try to do anything crazy. I was like, all right, well, all right. So I was like, all right. I still was in that hell state of mind. I'm like, all right, well, let me clean my body out. Let me be positive. Let me treat people right. And let me just say what I want. And then one day she just gonna call, or one day she just gonna bring him by, or maybe she'll call my mom or something. Nothing. And I waited for years. I actually had a lot of faith. This is why I know for a fact that waiting for shit does not work. I'll be the one to tell you. This is how I know it doesn't work. This is why I know that when you want something, you have to move toward it instead of waiting for it to come to you. This shit is impossible. I waited for like 4 years. Same spot. I lived in one house for a year and a half. She did not bring him by. I lived in the same house. She knew exactly where I was. She was in the same apartment. She had the same. Actually, she moved. Her job wasn't at Toys R Us anymore. It was at Panera Bread, which wasn't that far from Toys R Us. Literally, like, you could see Toys R Us from Panera Bread, straight up. Like, it's right there. So, like, I'm thinking maybe she'll get it in her heart to come by or call or talk or something. Because I haven't disappeared. I'm in the same spot. Nope. Ended up getting evicted from that house. Moved in with my mom. I said, all right. Now I'm with my mom. Mom, has she brought him by? No. Mom, have you talked to her? No. Okay. So, you know what? Let me just keep on doing what I'm doing. Because the court system don't give a fuck. Child support people don't give a fuck. Excuse me, not, I ain't gonna say child support. The Department of Family and Children's Services don't give a fuck.
Don't give a fuck at all. They got their money.
So, yeah, that's quote unquote just their job. They all cancel themselves. But, so they do what they're doing. And I'm sitting there waiting around like maybe he'll come by. Maybe God just gonna drop him in my lap. Maybe some of this gonna happen. Shit never fucking happened. I was freaking losing my mind over that shit. Like, damn, I really can't do shit about this? Like, nothing? It's gotta be hell, yo. It's gotta be. That's crazy. It's gotta be. You see? So yeah, I was just like, all right, well, obviously I'm not in the right environment. Obviously I'm not in the right place. Obviously I got to do something different because my life ain't moving forward. This shit's still holding me back somehow, some way. I got to figure out something to do with my life because this ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. I gotta do something. That's when I found carbonation and all the other shit. It's actually before that. It was 2016, so it was like the same year. But it's like, yeah, man, you need to move to a tropical environment. The other stuff I knew, I just didn't know the tropical part. I ain't put two and two together about that. But yeah, it was talking about moving in a tropical environment and the psychology of the people. Actually, I don't remember him talking about the psychology of the people and shit. Just mostly because of the food. Because his Nature Boy thing was mostly about the food and getting in tune with nature, but like peeing and pooping on the earth, but more so the food. I focused a lot more on that psychological aspect. Like, look at who you're around. Look at the quantum field of who you're around and what you're experiencing. And like, look at this shit. It's way different because I know the quantum field when I'm in the States. I know how shit works because I sat there and I sat still for years. I actually, while other people were working, I actually sat at the house and sat still and watched life move. And started catching on to every pattern. I was like, okay, this will happen this day. This will happen that day. The other thing will happen. Okay, now I'm catching on to all these patterns. I see it. This is actually pretty fucking amazing. Why wasn't I able to see it? And then I realized you've been working. You've been in school. You've been doing all this other shit. So you can't see all of these patterns that's happening this whole time. You ain't even aware that you've been expressing patterns your whole life. Habits, if you want to call them. Your whole life. And you express them because of who you're around and what you're around and what you see and what you're feeding yourself. I ain't have a fucking clue, you know. But I started studying the trees, and I was like, man, a tree has saw a lot of shit. A tree sitting in the same spot. Like, let's say if you got a tree on an interstate or a road, that tree doesn't seen a lot. It doesn't seen a lot of people come, a lot of people go, a lot of animals. It's just recording there, just standing in the same spot. And that's basically what I became. I became like a tree or a plant. And I started planting more and started catching on to all these patterns and shit. It's shit amazing. It's amazing. That's why I push it so much. And when I meet other versions of myself that can't see it, it's clearly because they haven't done what I've done. They don't know how extreme I went to try to figure out what I figured out, you know. And some of this stuff I figured out was unintentional. It just came to me because of I put myself in a different position. So like, yeah, I basically, like I said, I caught on to these patterns. I caught on to the pattern of her not being with her dad. So subconsciously, she's making him, my son, feel the same way that she did growing up, and making him feel the same way I did growing up because I went through the same thing. So he literally just going through the same pattern. So I eventually, I was like, well, what do I got to do to get out of this fucking pattern? Like, what do I got to do to meet these people? What do I got to do this shit? And his voice was just like, you got to move. You got to go to the tropics. You got to move away. You got to go out. You got to do stuff so you can make other stuff happen. If you still want to have children, if you still want to do all of this stuff, you got to go out and go somewhere else. You're not going to be able to do it in the city that you in. You're not going to be able to do it in the state that you in. You actually got to go travel far away from where you was born and all this other shit to have all this shit happen that you want to happen. And I'm like, damn, okay. I don't know where these thoughts coming from, but now I know they're coming from within. But I'm just like, okay, that's what I got to do. And then that's how I met all of the people that came here, because the voice was just telling me, go there. Yeah. It didn't say why. It just said, go there. Whoa. Just go there, and then you're gonna see what you need to see, experience what you need to experience. So there was a certain point in my life during the trauma of my being with Heather, I told my mom that I wanted a vasectomy, and she cried. She immediately cried. She was like, son, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. The Bible say, and God say, be fruitful and multiply. You know, your dad had a lot of children, all this other stuff, and you don't need to be thinking about no vasectomy and cutting on your body. You don't even need to be doing all that stuff. And she knew I was serious. She was crying about it, so I was crying too. Obviously, subject. So yeah, she was real hurt about that because I was so over having children at that point. I was just like, my first experience having a child was the worst experience ever, like ever. Like, and I was practicing preventative measures So that's what made it even worse for me. I'm sitting there trying to prevent certain things from happening. And because I was trying to prevent the things from happening, they happened. Because what I was trying to prevent from happening was at the forefront and not at the back. Like, everything gonna be fine. I wasn't like, everything gonna be fine, it's gonna be good. It was just like, nah, man, I gotta prepare for this and prepare for that and prevent this and prevent that. I gotta do all of this shit. I gotta have all the security, this emotional security. And I was just insecure. I was just insecure. So I created this wall, I created this world, I created all of this shit just to try to make myself feel better and make myself feel more secure, and it backfired, in my opinion. Like, though looking at it from the outside looking in, I was prepared totally. I was like, hey, I got a house, I got the career, I got the whip with the H in front of the W, the whip. I got everything. Right? I'm good. I'm set. Can't nobody say, well, hey, he not gonna be a provider. Yes, I got everything, And at a certain point, I looked at Heather and I was like, it's like she's trying to make me be somebody that I'm not. By perpetuating this situation, it's like she's trying to make me be something that I'm not, make me look a certain way that I'm not. And I'm actually not, because I actually do fucking work hard. It's in my chart too. I'm actually a hard worker and efficient and thorough and very responsible. I pay thousands of dollars in bills. I did all of this shit. I already got this experience already. That's why when I met you, I was like, nigga, you don't have a clue what I done already did. You're still learning some of the shit that I done did already. Like, I meet, no offense, by the way, I meet all kinds of people. Even some of the younger ones, especially the younger ones, but even some of the older ones, and I'm like, because y'all ain't seen what I've already done, mirror neurons and not, self-awareness and not, because you haven't seen what I've already done, you don't know what experience I have until I start talking, or until I get in a certain position to show, hey, I actually got plenty of experience in doing these things already. Like, I already mastered it, if you want to say it that way. So, like, I done got off topic. Apologize. Where was I at? Can you help me?
You got to the point you didn't even want children anymore.
Got to the point that I didn't want children, and I wanted a vasectomy. Mom told me not to do that. I had this dream of having 3 boys and 3 girls. That shit ruined it. Like, that whole relationship fucking ruined it. After that, I was just afraid to have children. And then I kept meeting all the women that couldn't have children. Subconsciously and consciously, I literally just wouldn't even put myself in that situation. Because I was like, I don't want to have to worry about going through that shit again, because it was so fucked up. It was so much garbage. And I knew that other people didn't go through what I went through. So that was another, like, slap in the face. It was just like, none of my friends that have children know this because they didn't go through it. None of my relatives know this stuff because they didn't go through it either. So they can't relate. They can't relate to how I feel. They can give me concepts and intellectualize and be logical, but there ain't no practical shit unless you've been through it. Unless you've been through them complications. Yeah, I'm gonna get some of that later. Give me a sec. Give me a few. Matter of fact, yeah, I'll take some now. Fuck it. So, like, it's just a big ass fucking stress story. I'm grateful. I used to pregame with this. Still good.
You're really good at this. It's a chase.
I think I've had that before. I think I've had that combo before. She don't need to be drinking no alcohol.
Huh?
She don't need to be drinking no alcohol.
I just wanted to offer.
No, don't do it again. It'd be all right. But yeah. So I've already had all these qualities in me. I've already had these traits in me. Father figure, the big brother figure, you name it. I've already had them in me. I've already been doing it. People got to watch me do it by myself, essentially, because she wasn't helping. So people got to see. People would meet me. I remember when Patal met me, he was like, "You're the only man I've ever met that, like, has your life situated the way you do. I've never even met somebody that has been in your situation before. Like, you a single dad, you got your child, you got all your ducks in a row. Like, how the fuck are you doing this shit? How are you doing? How are you even It was even at a point to where I was just overly positive, super happy about everything. I would still talk about the shit that made me upset, but I still have a pure heart, basically. I still be really happy in life, and people will be looking at my situation like, how the fuck are you functioning still when you went through so much shit? And I'm like, it's just the way I look at life, man. Sometimes I look at what I experience as real, and sometimes I don't. Like, sometimes it's just all an illusion to me. Sometimes it's not. So it kind of changes how serious I take life sometimes. You know? Like, there's the feeling or the thought that y'all are real, and then there's the feeling and the thought that y'all aren't real. That's with me every day. You know, carbonation would say it's holographic. Like a hologram. But you can't touch a hologram. Can't touch it. You see? So that concept, I understand the concept, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, I go through a lot of stuff, and I went through a lot of stuff mentally, and my perception is basically what's kept me alive and kept me moving and kept me growing for as long as I've been growing. I amaze myself when I think about it. I'm impressed with myself when I think about it, because I think that if there were others in my same situation, the way that I went through it, I don't know if it would necessarily be the same outcome. Although I'm aware that others have went through what I went through in their own subjective way. But I don't know if people had those same exact situations that they could talk about unless they were in a NICU or I don't know many single dads that have been through what I've been through. I ain't met the nigga. I ain't met him. You're the first female I've met in this situation. First. Yahya was talking about his neglect. He said, oh man, it's just neglect, man. It's child neglect. And I'm just like, looking at him, and keep in mind, he's the person that neglected everything, ignored everything. And I was just like, okay, I know he's being subjective, but at a certain point, I still have to hear what he's saying is kind of true. Though he's being super subjective, because that nigga really neglected everything. Like he would not give stuff enough attention, period.
It's interesting too that
Will you pass me another cigarette, please?
that speaking to him, he would point basically all of the things that I could see in myself that he was doing. He would be like, you're doing this, you're being neglectful, and to you or whatever, or
I get what you're saying.
or you're projecting all of these things onto me, and like,
what got me about him is when he said, man, I faced all my shit, and I was just like, come on, bro. Come on, bro. No, you didn't.
But he also is he was always into being by himself. What is that called?
Sensitive.
Huh?
Sensitive.
No, being by himself.
Reclusive.
Not
Reclusive.
exclusion, but
Reclusive.
But what's the word that he used when you're by yourself and it's supposed to be a good thing? Seclusion.
Seclusion, reclusive.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And he would view that as like that was his big thing, that's how he overcame everything, but
It's not.
no, especially not in
I went through
a
that phase.
scenario.
See, what used to get me with Yahya was, I remember telling him, dude, there's a lot of shit that you're going through that I already went through. And you literally just going through it now. And I've already been through it. And that was the one thing I would make sure to tell him, like, bro, I already did this shit that you're struggling with, bro. Like, I'm the best person for you to ask for the answers. I'm the best person to ask for help because I've been through it already.
Do you think it was harder for him to accept that help and guidance from you because he felt like he was the older, more experienced one, when in reality he had just secluded himself to avoid a lot of these issues that could have been resolved had he dealt with them?
No. Because regardless of him being older than me, I'm light years ahead of him in every single way, in shape and form. And I mean that with this amount of intensity. So no, he wouldn't have been able to feel that. Life would have shown him that that's not the fucking case. And it did. It humbled him many times. He was just really prideful and really arrogant, and he didn't need to be. But hey, that's how I saw myself at the time. I have to agree to it. But yeah, fuck no. Fuck no. Anytime I told him anything, he didn't listen. And I knew, because he was expressing the patterns that I did in the past, I knew he wasn't going to listen at first. I know none of y'all ain't going to listen to me first. I know you're not. That's part of this. You get to a certain level and you realize that you've grown past stuff. At a certain point, it's like, yo, I'm talking to myself who didn't listen. Other people was telling me, and I ain't fucking listening. And now I'm just seeing another version of myself not listening when it comes to this thing that I know the answer to now, but they don't know. So I know people ain't gonna listen at first, but everybody always listens. You see?
And I see that it appears from recent posts that Dea is back with her mom, living at home with Goddess, but she's still, promoting his old songs that he did while he was here and stuff. But he's nowhere to be seen. What, you think he's back in Florida living on the beach?
Don't know and don't care.
No, you don't know.
I don't know and I don't care. And I don't mean I don't care to be disrespectful. I mean it because that shit is nowhere near me.
I just wondered if
And that's his situation and his business. And it is what it is on that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't give a fuck. And I do not care. Whatever he's doing, may he be as successful as possible. I pray that he gets everything and everything he want, everything he need and everything he want, he gonna get it. Because he deserves it. That's what I got to say about that. But back to what I was saying, man. I didn't went off topic again, man. No, you good. I like it because it get the energy. You keep the energy up. Keep the energy up. But yeah, I just be watching people. But I watch the patterns because I know I'm looking at myself. I sat still enough. I sat still long enough to understand what I'm seeing. And if you ain't sitting still long enough, you can't see it. If you just moving all the time, you can't see what you need to see. You have to be still at a certain point. Being still literally could just mean being at the house. I learned a lot just from sitting at home. Matter of fact, I learned most of what I've learned just from sitting at home. Whether it be looking at the phone, the mirror, the scrying mirror, if we want to call it that. Whether it be at home looking at the mirror or reading books. I'd be at the house reading. A lot. I read a lot. I had to. I did a lot of stuff to try to stop me from being bored and entertain myself. I did a whole lot of shit. But I learned all these patterns, man. Not all. I learned a lot. Best way to say it is I learned what I need to know in order to get me from point A to point B. There was another part of that thought about baby mama though. It was something. Let me see. She didn't come by. I sat there and waited. You was going for that part. I was saying that I know for a fact that it doesn't make sense to say you should just sit and wait for everything to come to you and to come to you, and that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna work because I tried that. I tried that. Yeah, you got to meet it. And
you have to want to go towards it, so it wants to come towards you.
Yeah, and I was saying to Imani earlier, I didn't have that. Can I get another swig of that, by the way? I didn't have no like the fireball. I didn't have this feeling of trying to go towards my dad because I was occupied with so much other shit, toys and friends and school and family. I was occupied with so much other shit. My mind was nowhere near that part because he wasn't that big of a part of my life at the time. That's good stuff. You ain't gotta use no chaser for fireball.
No, but it tastes like cinnamon. Cinnamon and then bubble gum.
But I get it because it's okay cola though.
Yeah, that's
You don't need it, but I'm taking.
It's helping me flow, man. Remember I said my family's known to be drinkers. And drinking really loosens me up. Way more than Molly or shrooms or marijuana. Like drinking really does it for me.
You think
it'll open up.
drinking loosens you up in a better way more than Molly would?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Without and beyond a shadow of a doubt. Yes. And I'm already pretty loose. I have many times. But I'm already loose. So drinking just helps me talk. It helps me talk more. Otherwise, I would need some kind of situation to like spark me. And then it'll just come. Or maybe some fruit. Yeah. But yeah, all of that shit was so stressful, yo. Shit stressful, bruh. That's although if you're familiar with that phrase. Shit stressful.
No, I don't talk like that.
Yeah, you probably ain't familiar with that one. That was something to talk.
I'm telling you, no, I don't talk like that.
Hey, you know, when it comes to the community, certain things, I be thinking you already know.
No, don't do
You
that.
still young. You still young. And we in the same generation too now.
We're in the same generation?
Yep, Pluto and Scorpio. Same generation.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. The generation Pluto. Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're in Pluto generation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Trash forward. Anyway. So yeah, that's how I got to this point, yo. It just is.
Yeah, Saturn in the 5th house, man. That's like, woo.
Yeah. Is there anything else I want to add?
God.
Is
Oh my
there anything else I want to add?
Like, getting your ass kicked on every level of it.
Yeah, all the time.
From the pregnancy to the woman you got pregnant to how the baby's health. Like, oh my God.
'Cause so I had to
Then
deal-
not being able to see the baby, then you gotta still pay child support. Like, damn.
Well, I used to tell her, I was like, it's not even child support, yo. It's like mother support, because
And
he
he's
already got
still
everything he
getting-
needs.
still getting
Yeah.
Huh?
He's still, well, at least since we've been here, he's still getting fucking letters. They're trying to, like, bribe him to,
Well,
like,
it's like this. It's like this. Look.
blackmail and shit.
Check this out. She's been married, as far as I'm aware, for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? So now she got this another guy, dark skin, a little bit bigger than her. What is your what?
Did you put lip
For what?
to the fire hose?
In my hand. So yeah, I'm sitting here, like I said, I've been going through all of this stuff.
We looked her up on Facebook.
She been
and
married.
saw it.
Seen him,
He
looked
not
her up.
anything compared to you, man. Just by his pic, I ain't gonna talk about the man, but
I don't know him
just
like that.
by his picture.
I don't know him like that. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know him like that.
You think he's better than you?
I'm not gonna say that, but I don't know him like that. I don't know his personality. I don't know his character. I don't know what kind of growth he could have. So, could be a great guy. Could be a great guy. I'll say this: from what I've heard, she's bigger than what she was.
Oh my God.
So she probably
She's
going
more
through
than
it.
300 pounds?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
his
she
friend-
was already 300, so she's bigger. So that means she's probably still going through a lot of stressful shit.
His
That's what I'm
friend
thinking.
told him like, bro, I saw her in the store the other day.
Yeah, man. Man, she done got real big. She's way bigger than what she was.
I mean, that's got to be big.
And painful.
I know. I went through it.
Body aches.
That was another thing. I told y'all this too. I was an alcoholic when I was with her. And as soon as that relationship stopped, couldn't drink.
Stop drinking.
Yep.
Oh.
And that was another thing that let me know who you're around is important, because who you around is kind of dictating what substances you're taking and what you're doing with your life, et cetera, et cetera. And once she was gone, I stopped that alcohol. I saved me a bunch of money and stopped drinking beer, stopped drinking liquor. I couldn't drink a beer or two without getting drunk. But when I was going through all of that pain, man, I could drink all day. All day I'd be drinking. I couldn't tell you how many times I've been hungover. I couldn't tell you. I'd be lying if I told you, if I tried to make up a number. It was so much. I couldn't tell you how many headaches I done got up having and trying to rehydrate and not being able to eat the next day. That's part of the reason why I started learning how to fast. Because I'd be so hungover that I'd be afraid to eat. Yeah, I used to be drinking heavy. And I'm not no angry drunk, so I wasn't getting drunk and blacking out and, doing crazy shit and
Right,
beating people up, nothing
smart.
like that. I'd be just partying and having fun because I wanted to be happy.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a lot, yo. And I think it seems like it's one of those things in life that's just, there's no fixing it. Right? Years ago, probably about 2018, I was like, ain't no fixing this shit no more. 2020, really, I was like, it really ain't no fixing this shit no more. Ain't no, I can replace it, and you can make up for lost time. No, the fuck you can't, because you're a human and you only go through certain things one time in your life. I played football in high school. I only get 4 years to win the state championship. That's it, cuz.
Somebody said that to me. Like, I guess he said it, he wants to be comforting, but he was like, you can have more babies. And I'm like, bitch, it's not a fucking goldfish. Like, you can just replace the motherfucker. Like, this son is that son. It's not, oh, I have another son, so fuck you. Like, come on now. Like, that wasn't the right thing to say at all. I was looking at this man like, like,
did he have children?
Yeah, shit. His first wife, he had like 10 babies with her. She took all them babies away from him.
I met somebody like that. I met somebody with 10 children.
Yeah, he was an ex-football player. He played for
Oh, he was the ex-football player you're talking
I
about.
forget who he played for.
The Saints.
She just said the Saints.
Somewhere up north.
I don't know why that just came right.
Somewhere up north. And like, he did help me in a lot of ways, and I was kind of trying to like be like, okay, this man lost like 9, 10 babies, right? And like now he's telling me like it's okay, like this, you did right, letting your son be with him. Just now it's time to just move on.
Yeah, that's all I could do. Just fucking move on, because otherwise, yo, I sat in that relationship thinking about how I couldn't fix it, how I couldn't repair it, I couldn't do shit about it for years. And eventually I was like, bro, you just gotta fucking move on with your life, man. You gonna be sitting here trying to fight the same thing over and over for the rest of your life. Instead of just moving on. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
That's it.
How to do, move on.
Move on. I started looking at that relationship as spilled milk. And you know what you're not supposed to do over spilled milk? Cry. Exactly. So I started looking at shit as spilled milk.
Yeah. Please. I made sure I made enough tonight
What is?
for both of y'all. Homemade crab and cheese rangoon.
Oh, you made 'em?
Stir fry, vegetable stir fry.
I'm surely gonna
My
eat them.
very first crab and cheese rangoon. Okay, so tonight I made. Oh, you're starting.
Time out. Let me go ahead and hit stop.